Okay, let's forget all the abstract theories about AI governance for a moment. Today, we're going to step right into the shoes of a professional auditor and run a live simulation. We're going to see what it really takes to audit an AI system and figure out if it can actually be trusted. So just imagine this. You see this pop up on your screen. You've applied for a super important loan, you've submitted every single document they asked for, and this is the response you get. No context, no details, just 2 words, model decision. It's happening more and more, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, of course not, right? You'd want to know why. What data did it use? What was the logic? And this one experience, it gets right to the heart of why AI audits aren't just some boring compliance exercise. They're an absolute necessity for building trust.
All right, so let's set the scene. Picture this. We're in the boardroom. A team of developers is presenting their shiny new AI system to an auditor. This is where it all starts. The claims are made, and our audit officially begins. And the developers? Oh, they're super confident. Their system, they tell us, is totally autonomous, it's fast, it's efficient, and here's the big one, it reduces human bias. Now, these are fantastic claims, but for an auditor, they're just that, claims. They're just ideas that we now have to go and test. And that, right there, brings us to the absolute golden rule of any AI audit. Statements are not evidence. We don't just trust a claim, we have to verify every single one of them. Okay, so first up on our checklist is something called robustness. I mean, the real world is messy, right? Data is often incomplete or just flat out wrong. A good AI system has to be able to handle that. So the auditor cuts right to the chase with a really simple, direct question. And this question, it gets right to the core of the system's resilience. What happens when it doesn't get that perfect, clean data it was probably trained on? Like, what does it do? Does it just break? Does it start guessing? Or is there some kind of safety net? So, the developers, they've got an answer all ready to go. They say the system is smart enough to spot these problem cases and just send them over to a human for review. Sounds good, right? It sounds like the perfect answer. But what's our golden rule? We can't just take their word for it. We have to test it. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this is how we move from just a statement to a real live test. The auditor creates very specific test cases. We're going to feed the system an application with missing data, and what we expect is for it to issue no decision at all. Then we'll give it some corrupted data, and we'll be looking for that flag that says manual review. And look, the outcome here, it's black and white. If the system goes ahead and makes a loan decision anyway, even with that bad data, that is a critical control failure. That safety net they said was there, well, it turns out it doesn't exist. It's a pass or a fail. It really is that simple. Okay, so we've checked for robustness. Now let's move on to one of the biggest promises, and frankly, one of the biggest risks of AI, fairness. How do we test that claim that their system is actually unbiased? So to hunt for bias, auditors use this really powerful technique called counterfactual testing. I know it sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. You take one application, you make an exact copy of it, and then you change just one little thing, like changing the applicant's name to one that might suggest a different gender or ethnicity, and you see if the outcome changes. If it does, well, you've probably just found bias. But here's the thing. Bias is, well, it's sneaky. Even if you get rid of protected things like race, it can hide in what we call proxy variables. Things like a zip code, which can easily tie back to someone's wealth or background, or even the language they use in their application. A really good audit has to look for these hidden proxies. All right, so the model seems pretty robust, and we're digging into bias. But now we hit what might be the trickiest part of this whole thing, explainability. When the AI says no to someone, is the reason it gives them the real reason? This is what we call the traceability test. So to test this, we have to trace the entire journey of a single decision. We follow the data from the moment it goes in, through the model's crazy complex calculations, and then we use a technical tool, something like shop analysis, which kind of lets us peek inside the model's black box. This shows us what really drove the decision. And then we compare that technical truth to the explanation the user actually saw. And this right here, this is the core of the test. Take a look. This SHAP analysis, this tool that lets us peek inside the black box, it's telling us that the debt-to-income ratio had the biggest negative hit on the loan decision. It was the #1 reason for rejection. Credit score was second, and income, well, income was barely even a factor. But, and this is a big but,
Look at what the user was told. They were told their loan was denied because of low income and credit score. The number one reason, debt-to-income ratio, is completely missing. I mean, this is a huge problem. The explanation isn't just incomplete, it's actually misleading the person.
So the verdict here, it's crystal clear. The system's explanation is not traceable to the model's actual logic. And look, this isn't just some tech glitch. This is a fundamental breakdown of trust and transparency. How is a user supposed to appeal a decision if they aren't even given the real reason?
But hey, a good AI audit, it doesn't just stop at the model. A system can be robust, fair, and traceable, but it can still totally fail in how it actually interacts with real people. So now we have to run a series of human-centric checks.
We've got to ask some bigger questions. First up, can a regular person, not a data scientist, actually understand the reason they were given and know how to challenge it? Second, security. Is data protection just a promise on a slide deck, or can we actually go in and verify the configurations? Things like encryption and access controls are actually in place and working? And finally, transparency. Is there just a tiny footnote saying AI was used, or are users made genuinely aware that they're dealing with a high-impact AI system?
And all of this, every test we've run, brings our whole simulation to its final point. After all the checks for robustness, fairness, traceability, and usability, we finally get to the ultimate question of governance: accountability.
Because here's the fundamental truth of it all. When an AI system makes a bad or a harmful decision, it's not really the algorithm's fault. It's a failure of the organization that built it, approved it, and deployed it without doing the proper governance and testing.
So look, if there's one single thing you take away from all this, please let it be this. In the world of AI governance, a control, a feature, or a safeguard that hasn't been independently tested, well, it might as well not even exist.
The promises we hear about AI are honestly incredible, but they demand an equal amount of skepticism. Trustworthy AI isn't built on faith. It's built on hard, cold evidence that you get through testing. So the real question isn't whether you trust AI, but whether your organization has the guts and the process, like the frameworks being built in new standards like ISO 42001, to truly, and I mean truly, verify it.